It's the most wonderful time of the year. With the fans all there cheering and chants they are jeering for all us to hear. It's the most wonderful time of the year. Thank you. What is going on, everyone? How are you doing? I hope you're doing good, because it is good to feel good. And this weekend is WrestleMania 37. I'm pumped for it. I'm fighting to survive for it, and it's crazy. And do you know what? I'm really looking forward to it because, this last year has seen a lot of doom and gloom. But you know what? Wrestling for me has been some form of escapism, and there've been some very fun stuff that's happened throughout this last year, not just in WWE but in other promotions like in AEW, New Japan, Impact Wrestling. There's all sorts been going on, but I'm quite looking forward to this weekend's WrestleMania, and I think it's going to be a fun one. So at WrestleMania this weekend, there are 14 confirmed matches to be taking place, 7 for both nights, and there are 2 matches that I would have included in this video, but unfortunately they've been bumped to the SmackDown before WrestleMania, which will be on this Friday. And they are the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal and the SmackDown Tag Team Fatal 4-Way, which is a bit of a shame, really. It's worse than being bumped to the pre-show, in my opinion, and it's just like, is there not enough space to kind of put it on either one of those nights? It's just weird. But hey ho, hey ho ho, as the Miz would say, and John Morrison for that matter. Hey ho ho, it is WrestleMania 37. Yo ho ho, hey yo ho ho. Stop it, Ollie. But anyway, it is WrestleMania 37, and these are my predictions. So without further ado, let's dive into things. Oh, WrestleMania. Yeah, this is our life. Pop it up, pop it up, pop it up. Oh, whoa, WrestleMania. Fighting to survive. Just like that. Just like that. Now, put this into perspective. WrestleMania on night 1 this year is going to be the first time in well over a year that there's been a paying audience in attendance, and not in front of nobody, not in front of a virtual audience or anything. This is actual people that are going to be there in attendance. And I feel like one of the best ways to start off a WrestleMania is with a bang and with a fun, exciting match. And I think the best way to do it is add a nice bit of flavour in there. And I'm going to say, to start off the show, Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship. And I think it just makes sense, Last year at WrestleMania, of course, was when Drew McIntyre won the WWE Championship from Brock Lesnar, and originally he would have got this big monster pop from the crowd in Raymond James Stadium, but of course it didn't happen at Raymond James Stadium. It happened at the Performance Center in front of no one, and it just did feel a bit weird. It did take away from that. I'm happy that Drew won, but yeah, it just took away from that whole experience, and it's a real shame, when stuff like this gets in the way, but it was, for the best of everybody, I guess. And then also for Bobby Lashley, it's mad to think, over a year ago he was, if you were to ask what he was doing at last year's WrestleMania, you probably would have forgotten that he had this, nothing match with Aleister Black, which is more memorable for the fact that he lost because of a distraction from Lana, who he was in with a partnership at the time. And, Bobby Lashley's had a really good year. The Hurt Business has been fun, and I'm quite sad that they've split up now. Why did you have to break them up so soon before WrestleMania? But yeah, Bobby Lashley's the WWE Champion, and I think that's pretty cool. But I think, they need to start off with a bang for WrestleMania 37, and if this match is starting off the show for WrestleMania 37, then probably a title change is necessary, and so for that I have Drew McIntyre to win, and so he can get that big pop that he didn't get on last year's WrestleMania, get that in front of Raymond James Stadium. Everyone, starts off the show happy, starts off on a high note. I think that's the best way to go. Next up, we have Bad Bunny and Damian Priest versus The Miz and John Morrison. Hey ho ho, yo ho ho, Pirates, because it's at Raymond James Stadium. But anyway, this is a match that's come about because if you cast your minds back to the Royal Rumble, of course, Bad Bunny had one of his songs called Booker T, in which he featured Booker T as well in the music video. That was one of the theme songs of the Royal Rumble, and then The Miz got jealous because, you know, he'd done something with Booker T and not him, because of course The Miz is a Hollywood A-lister, people, you know, he's big money Miz. Why was he never called that? I don't know. The Miz destroyed Bad Bunny's DJ equipment, and then later in the match when Damian Priest was also in the Rumble match, you know, thanks to a distraction from Bad Bunny, Damian Priest was able to eliminate Miz and John Morrison, and then to add insult to injury, Bad Bunny got in a little splash in, a little dive action in there, and that was quite fun. Before all this kind of like was all set in stone, The Miz was WWE champion, albeit for a week, and then of course now he's in this big feud with Bad Bunny. Now I don't know what Bad Bunny's wrestling ability is like. For all I know, he could be on par with Floyd Mayweather from WrestleMania 24, or at the very worst on par with Snooki from WrestleMania 27, and the less we think about that, the better. But I think, you know what, he's going to have a fun match. I imagine Damian Priest will be doing all like the heavy work in this match, but I think, you know, Bad Bunny will have a few moments of offense in there, and I have Bad Bunny and Damian Priest to win this match. Next up we have Braun Strowman versus Shane McMahon, the best wrestler in the world, in a steel cage match. And fun fact, this is the first time since WrestleMania 2, 35 years ago, that a traditional steel cage match has taken place at WrestleMania. Crazy to think, and no Hell in a Cell matches don't count towards this, but yeah. This feud's been very, very crap. I'm just gonna throw it out there, and do you know what? I don't really want to discuss it. It's just like this whole Braun Strowman is a dum-dum and he was bad at school and all this, and it's like, what are they trying to tell us? It's just crap. But anyway, I have Braun Strowman for this match, because, you know what? Just go it, and you know, just let Braun Strowman kill Shane McMahon, and at the very least chuck him off the pirate ship at Raymond James Stadium. Let him do that, please. Add a bit of edge back into Braun Strowman's character by doing that. That would be cool. Next up we have Cesaro versus Seth Rollins. And this is a match that I think this could be a very interesting match, and the match that I'm about to predict as well. It's got, like, these two matches in particular have quite a Ring of Honor feel to it, because it's mad to think that, like, 10 years ago, if you were a Ring of Honor fan, you would never have imagined Claudio Castagnoli versus Tyler Black, and then Kevin Steen versus El Generico on the same show. So yeah, it's crazy to think, you know, they were all big names back in Ring of Honor back in the day, and now they're all, you know, in their own singles matches at WrestleMania, so it's pretty cool. But anyway, I think Seth Rollins has had, you know, quite an interesting, you know, comeback with the whole embrace this vision, and he's coming out with all these jazzy suits. Too jazzy? Yeah, too jazzy. But I will admit, he's having some pretty solid matches. He had a very good match with Shinsuke Nakamura at Fastlane, and then of course now here for Cesaro. And fun fact, this is Cesaro's first singles match on Mania's main show. Like, you know, I think he's been with the company just over 10 years now, or nearly 10 years. And it's mad to think, like, with the exception of last year facing Drew Gulak on the pre-show of one of the nights of WrestleMania, although I don't really remember it that much. Yeah, this is Cesaro's first ever singles match. For this match, I'm going to say Seth Rollins. Let him, you know, continue to build his vision. I don't know what his vision is. Seth Rollins. Next up, we have Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn. And of course, at the very centre of this, there is this conspiracy theory to stop Sami Zayn from succeeding, or whatever it is. I don't know, like, it's like every little nook and cranny, like, that is like every little mishap that's happened to Sami Zayn. He's always pointing the finger and saying, like, this is conspiracy theory. Do you know what would be really fun? Is if they brought R-Truth into this, and obviously R-Truth back in the day was, in fact 10 years ago now, was at the very heart of a conspiracy theory, and, like, you know, it was very similar, I guess. But of course then Sami Zayn had this premiere, or the premiere of his trailer for this conspiracy theory, and Logan Paul was his guest of honor. And then of course Kevin Owens stunned Sami Zayn in front of Logan Paul. I really don't know what to think of, like, Logan Paul being part of all this, but I know for a fact that he's going to be in Sami's corner, or rather be at WrestleMania this weekend. I don't know what capacity he's going to be there. Do you know what I think is going to happen? So this is going to go in line with my prediction. So I think Sami Zayn is going to lose because of shenanigans like that have been insinuated by Logan Paul, and that's going to lead to Kevin Owens winning. That's what I think is going to happen, and then you know, Sami might get a bit mad at Logan Paul or whatever, but yeah, that's what I'm going to predict. Next up we have The New Day versus AJ Styles and Omos for the Raw Tag Team Championship. Now, it's a bit of an interesting match. Like, I know The New Day are bloody brilliant, and you know, they can have like great tag team matches with whoever, but the thing is, AJ Styles, like, I was about to say he's not an established tag team wrestler, but that in itself is a lie, because if you've seen like companies like Ring of Honor and TNA back in the day, he was a you know, established tag team man in some aspect. But I don't know what's gonna happen with this match, because I don't know exactly what Omos is capable of, and of course Omos has had his fair share of roles in the last year. Of course, he was the big ninja as part of Akira Tozawa's crew, and I realised I nearly said something else there which I would have gotten cancelled for. He was the bouncer for Raw Underground, who remembers that, and then of course he became the bodyguard or whatever, or like his personal assistant or his PA or something for AJ Styles, and of course like, and a little bits along the way Omos has been helping out AJ Styles, like winning matches and, you know, little bits of that, and even in the Royal Rumble he helped him out, like, and prevented him from being eliminated a few times. But yeah, I don't know what Omos is capable of in ring, for that matter, in terms of like in an actual match, but we'll just have to wait and see. But I don't think they're gonna win, like, because again, not an established tag team to the best of my knowledge, and I don't know really exactly what they're capable of, so I'm gonna predict that New Day will retain. And like, it's bad to think as well, like AJ Styles, come to think of it, is one off from winning, like, or becoming a Grand Slam champion. And like, of course, he's won the WWE Championship, United States Championship, Intercontinental Championship, and just needs a Tag Team Championship to add to this mix as well. And then he's a Grand Slam champion. But no, I have the New Day to retain for this. Next up, we have a Tag Team Turmoil match taking place on night 1, pitting Naomi and Lana against the Riot Squad, against Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose, against Natalya and Tamina. And the winners of this Tag Team Turmoil will face the Women's Tag Team Champions on night 2 of WrestleMania. Now, I think, I mean, I'm just going to throw it out there, I think Naomi and Lana have got this in the bag, because I'm thinking from like a long-term booking perspective, and that is that I think, you know, from going on from back months ago when Lana was constantly getting put through an announce table on Raw each week by Nia Jax, this is what it's all building to, I think, for Lana to win, like, you know, the tag team championships with a partner. And it was meant to happen a few months ago back at TLC, but Lana got injured, and then of course Lana eliminated Nia Jax from the Royal Rumble, and then of course you know, stop it, Ollie, that whole business. And of course, you know, that was a tables match. Lana beat Nia Jax in a tables match, and then of course, you know, Naomi and Lana had that tag team championship match against Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax, or Shania as I like to call them, although why they haven't called them that yet, it doesn't impress me much. But then of course they won by dubious methods via shenanigans, and I feel like they never got, like, you know, another opportunity because they were basically screwed out of the titles. This now leads into my next prediction, which is of course, say for argument's sake, if Naomi and Lana do win the Tag Team Turmoil and go on to face Shayna and Nia for the tag team titles, then this is where it leads us. So I think, like, this is what it's all building to. I think Naomi and Lana will win, and then they will be tag team champions, and you know, this will be like the redemption story for Lana for finally getting that big victory over Nia Jax. But yeah, that's what I think it's going to lead. Although I should say that if Lana and Naomi don't win the Tag Team Turmoil, then I will still go with the winner of said Tag Team Turmoil in line with this prediction. Next up we have Riddle versus Sheamus for the United States Championship. Now, can I just say, I loved it a week ago when Riddle was on Raw and he was like, I love this little thing where he's just riding around in a scooter, and then he bumped into Asuka and was saying, do you have scooters in Japan like this? And then he just all of a sudden, he just forgot his lines. It was like, he acknowledged it on camera, and it was very weird to see, but like, it's kind of in character for him, because, you know, he's a stoner at the end of the day, and he loves all the fun, good shit. This is such good shit. I can't believe that happened last year as well, actually. I don't know really what to think of this match. I know Sheamus got a victory over Riddle a few weeks ago, but I don't think Sheamus will win necessarily, so hence why I'm picking Riddle for this. Although I will say that I'd very much like to see Sheamus become a Grand Slam champion, because all he has left is to win the Intercontinental Championship, and then he's a Grand Slam champion. So, say if he moves to SmackDown a little down the line, then let him win the let him have one little reign as the Intercontinental Champion, and then he can complete that as well, being a Grand Slam champion. Although, speaking of the Intercontinental Championship, that's my next prediction, and that is Big E versus Apollo Crews in a Nigerian drum fight for the Intercontinental Championship. Now, I don't know what a Nigerian drum fight is. I mean, I'd assume it's a no disqualification match. That's the vibe I'm getting. But, I'll tell you what I really love about this is, like, Apollo Crews has had some real chance to kind of shine in terms of character work, because when he was, like, back in the day, he was very much this, like, you know, happy-go-lucky babyface who was always smiling, and it didn't really do much for him, if I'm being quite honest, which was a shame. But I think, you know, since he turned heel, he's actually had a chance to shine, and of course he's embraced his Nigerian heritage. You know, he's put on a Nigerian accent, which is a bit questionable, but you know what, if it works for him, then fair enough. There was that match at Fastlane against Big E where he didn't win, but obviously it was kind of a fluke finish, and of course, like, Apollo Crews got very, very adamant at him, and then of course, a few weeks down the line, you know, pinned him in a 6-man tag, and you know, officially challenged into that Intercontinental Championship match, and of course it is going to be a Nigerian drum fight. But anyway, that brings me to my prediction, and I have Apollo Crews to win. I think he needs a little Intercontinental title run, and, like, you know, let him be a heel champion for a few months, and then have some nice, lovely challenger come his way. Hell, have Sheamus, as I was just saying, have Sheamus come into the mix, and, you know, Sheamus can become a Grand Slam champion player. And then after this, we have The Fiend versus Randy Orton. And can I just say, what the hell is Randy Orton's problem with trying to set Bray Wyatt or set things relating to Bray Wyatt on fire? Because of course, cast your mind back 4 years ago, like during their feud that led to WrestleMania 33, and the less said about that match the better, Randy Orton burned down Bray Wyatt's his house or whatever. I've forgotten what it was. Like, if someone can remind me what that was that he burnt down, then I can, you know, picture it and then remember it a lot better. But yeah, he burned down his house, damn it, and the rocking chair. How dare he? And then of course there was the whole bug thing on the mat, like all projected on the mat. It was weird stuff. No, it wasn't good shit. That wasn't good shit. That was crap. But of course, Randy Orton set The Fiend on fire, basically burned him alive back at TLC back in December. And then, of course, The Fiend has been absent more or less ever since, until he came back recently, which I'll get to. And, of course, you know, he was kind of like going back and forth with Alexa Bliss, you know, because the essence of The Fiend, while his physical body wasn't there, his spirit basically possessed the mind of Alexa Bliss. And even, like, possessed Randy Orton as well. He was just coughing up that black stuff. Like, it was voodoo, it was. And then, of course, at Fastlane, during the intergender match between Randy Orton and Alexa Bliss, of course, The Fiend, you know, do you know what? It always got me thinking. He came back as basically, like, it's like a mixture of Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees, and it's very much like an 80s horror movie where, you know, he rises out of the pits of hell and he's all burned and, like, skewered. It's great stuff. It's good shit. I love saying that. But yeah, I think, you know what, I don't know what kind of match we're going to get here. We could just get your standard singles match, but we could add a few bits of, like, fun with fire thrown into the mix, I guess, because that's one thing that I've been seeing throughout. And then I think I'm going to say The Fiend will win this match. And hopefully Randy Orton just doesn't suddenly hit an RKO out of nowhere and that's just it, 1, 2, 3, and then it gets voted the worst match of the year like it did a few years back as well. The next prediction is Asuka versus Rhea Ripley for the Raw Women's Championship. Now, like, this whole, like, build to this match has been a bit weird, because now that I think about it, the last time Asuka defended the Raw Women's Championship, this is going to sound mad, but I think it was back in November, just after Survivor Series. She had a match against Lana, and that was it. And then, of course, you know, she was in the Women's Tag Team title picture for a bit with Charlotte, and just nothing. And then she was meant to defend the Raw Women's Championship at Elimination Chamber against Lacey Evans, and I think Lacey Evans was meant to win that, but then of course Lacey Evans got pregnant in real life, and that match got scrapped and nothing happened. It's a shame that they weren't able to find a replacement for that match, now that I think about it. We lead ourselves to here, and you know what, I love Rhea Ripley. She's very good, and I feel like it's a shame that she lost last year, because I honestly thought she would retain and keep the NXT Women's Champion for some time, but obviously I was wrong. But I'd really like to see Rhea Ripley win this, you know, get her win back from last year, and this sounds really harsh to say, but Asuka hasn't really done much of note, but that's no fault of her own, that's just how she's been booked. She's just there with the championship and she's doing nothing, which is a real shame. So yeah, I have Rhea Ripley for this. Next up we come to Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair for the SmackDown Women's Championship, and boy oh boy, I'm looking forward to the match, but I haven't enjoyed the build. I mean, good on Bianca Belair, because she won the Women's Royal Rumble from the number 3 spot as well, which is commendable. But just the whole build to this, like, they had it perfect on paper to book this match, but then they were thrown into the women's tag team title scene, and it was the whole cliche thing of, oh, are they gonna get along? And obviously they didn't, and it's just a shame that, you know, that all played out as it did. But yeah, just I haven't enjoyed the build, but I'm fingers crossed that this, you know, this match can redeem how bad this build has been. And before I do my prediction, I have found it a bit mad to think that, like, Sasha Banks this year is the only one of the 4 horsewomen who is actually booked to be in a match at WrestleMania. Now obviously Becky Lynch is on maternity leave because she gave birth to a baby girl named Rue, congratulations, back in December. Charlotte Flair is out at the moment because she's recovering from COVID-19, so I doubt she will be at WrestleMania in some shape or form. And then Bayley's just got nothing to do, which I think is a real shame, because, like, you know, Bayley's been very entertaining this last year. I think this could be a very good match. I mean, I could imagine this main event's night 1 or whatever. I don't know how the card will actually play out. I mean, I know you've got both matches on both nights, but I think Bianca Belair will win this. And do you know what? I've noticed in the past 5 years, whenever I've predicted a WrestleMania match and I've predicted Sasha Banks to win, she's always blooming lost. So I'm going to go the opposite way this year, and I'm predicting Bianca Belair to win the SmackDown Women's Championship. And I think, you know what, she's going to have a very good reign when she does win it. So fingers crossed for that. And then finally we come to Roman Reigns versus Edge versus Daniel Bryan for the Universal Championship. And it's crazy to think, you know, of all the circumstances that have led to this match. Now, if you think about it, all 3 men have had you know, had something that has, you know, either put their careers on hold or has ended their careers prematurely. And let's just quickly review those. So of course, Edge had to retire back in 2011 because of a lingering neck issue, and was also forced to relinquish the World Heavyweight Championship at the time, which it was quite sad watching that. And then Daniel Bryan back in 2016 had to prematurely retire because of concussion-related issues. And then in 2018, Roman Reigns had to take a hiatus because of a leukemia diagnosis and was forced to relinquish the Universal Championship at the time. And then obviously all 3 men have come back and, you know, better than ever. Of course, Daniel Bryan was the first to return back in 2018 when he was cleared to wrestle again, and of course he said, if you fight for your dreams will fight for you, which I have tattooed here on my lovely arm. And then back in 2019, Roman Reigns announced he was in remission from leukemia and was able to keep wrestling again, which was very good on him. And then Edge, to the surprise of us all last year at the Royal Rumble, returning and like us thinking that he's not going to return, and then sure enough he did. He was in the Royal Rumble match, made it to the final 3, had a few matches last year before getting sadly injured, and then coming back this year at the Royal Rumble and winning the bloody thing from number 1. Who would have funked it? So we lead ourselves to this match, and it's crazy to think, obviously, it was originally just going to be Edge versus Roman Reigns, and now Daniel Bryan's in the mix, and I think it makes sense that Daniel Bryan's in the mix as well, because, you know, he's had his few chances and, like, basically been, like, you know, they've been taken away because of, like, you know, dubious means, and of course, just recently at Fastlane, Edge was the special guest enforcer in Bryan and Reigns' match, and, you know, cost him the match. The devious man, the cheeky bastard. Although saying that, that's what Edge is basically about. And I love that Edge has very much embraced, like, who he is, you know. This is the rated R superstar that we all know and love. And, like, in terms of predictions, this is what I'm going to throw out. I've gone back and forth on this, and I'm like, is it this guy or is it this guy? And I'm going to lay down my prediction here. I have Edge. Now, think about this. Night 2 of WrestleMania 37, it takes place 10 years to the day since the episode of Raw in which Edge announces retirement and also relinquishing the World Heavyweight Championship at the time. Now, I know there are some people who are like, well, I don't like the idea of Edge, you know, coming back and, you know, being a champion and, like, you know, he's a legend basically. Yes, he's a legend, but if you think about it, Edge is now, like, you know, wrestling again and, you know, getting back those few years that he lost because he wasn't able to wrestle. So I say let Edge have a reign as a Universal Champion and, you know, let him go for however long, and I say maybe let Daniel Bryan be his first big feud coming back. Yeah, maybe not. I mean, I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I have to go with Edge for this. And then also, just a quick little mention is, I think it would be very cool, like, just imagine this, now I'm just fantasy booking. Imagine on the SmackDown after WrestleMania, Edge comes out, he's the Universal Champion, although he doesn't have the physical belt. What if he throws it in the trash, or rather throws it in the river, like he did with John Cena's spinner belt of the WWE Championship back in the day, and reintroduce the World Heavyweight Championship, because I honestly think it would have looked a lot better on Roman Reigns than the Universal Championship at the moment. And also in turn, you know, this is a belt that I associate very well with Edge. In fact, he's had the most reigns of said championship. And, like, whenever I think of, like, you know, that time in WWE back in the day, whenever I think of the World Heavyweight Championship, I think of a few wrestlers, but one of the ones I think of most is Edge. And I think, you know what, Edge as World Heavyweight Champion, or even failing that, you know, a redesign of the Universal Championship or whatever, kind of like rated R customized, that would look pretty cool. And yeah, I have Edge to win this match. Anyway, those are all my predictions, and yes, there was a lot to get through, but you know what, I'm very much looking forward to this year's WrestleMania, and as usual, I will be doing my reactions for both nights, so look forward to those. I'll be uploading those at some point in the following week after WrestleMania, and yeah, bring on the good stuff. Let the good times roll with WrestleMania. I'm looking forward to it, you know, and, like, you know, looking forward to seeing people there in attendance again. I know obviously it'll be very, like, you know, not as packed as, you know, WrestleManias of years past, but, like, you know, for what they can do at the moment, it's quite nice to see them actually back in the flesh. Anyway, those are my predictions. I'm tired, I need a drink of water, and I need to edit this as well. So yeah, I'll do that. But anyway, as I would usually do, I will leave you with some advice, and that is to always enjoy yourself, stay safe, and make the most of every opportunity that comes your way. Thank you for watching, and peace.